People rarely understand why INFJs draw so much quiet envy. They're not loud, not showy, not desperate for validation, yet their energy leaves a mark wherever they go. There's something magnetic about the way they move through life with calm purpose, reading people like open books while revealing almost nothing about themselves. Their mix of mystery, depth, and emotional intelligence triggers something deep in others, admiration disguised as jealousy. INFJs don't try to stand out, but they do, effortlessly. Their presence exposes what others hide, their calm makes chaos feel small, and their authenticity in a world full of masks feels almost rebellious. That's why people can't decide whether to love them, fear them, or compete with them. In this video, you'll discover 8 things INFJs do that make people jealous without even trying, not because they want to, but because being real in a world that rewards fake confidence is the rarest kind of power. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Brainy, the channel that reveals the deep psychology behind quiet strength, empathy, and hidden power. And tell me in the comments, do you think people envy peace more than success? Their calm confidence exposes other people's insecurities. An INFJ doesn't walk into a room to be seen, yet somehow everyone feels their presence. It's not about loudness or dominance. It's a quiet, centered energy that demands respect without asking for it. Their calm confidence comes from knowing who they are, what they stand for, and what they'll never tolerate again. That kind of groundedness unnerves people who rely on noise and validation to feel significant. The INFJ doesn't need to compete, compare, or chase approval, and that absence of need exposes how deeply others crave it. People often misinterpret their silence as indifference, but it's not, it's awareness. INFJs can feel the emotional undercurrents in any space. They know when someone's projecting, pretending, or performing. And instead of reacting, they stay composed. This calmness forces others to face their own insecurity. When someone's peace can't be shaken, it reveals who's still ruled by chaos. That's why people envy them, not for what they have, but for what they don't need. This confidence wasn't built overnight. It came from long nights of overthinking, healing, and learning when to stop explaining themselves. They've been broken, betrayed, and underestimated, but instead of turning bitter, they turned inward. They rebuilt their confidence from clarity, not ego. They no longer depend on external validation because they found strength in self-understanding. And that kind of self-awareness radiates a rare, unshakable energy that people subconsciously recognize and often resent. The truth is, calm confidence terrifies those who measure worth through noise. The INFJ doesn't need to outshine anyone. Their stillness already does. It reflects back everything people try to hide: insecurity, anxiety, self-doubt. And that's why, without trying, they make others uncomfortable. Because their peace isn't just quiet, it's powerful. It's proof that the loudest energy in the room isn't always the strongest. Sometimes it's the one that says nothing and still changes everything. An INFJ doesn't just hear what you say, they feel what you mean. Before a word leaves your lips, they've already picked up on the tone, the hesitation, the subtle energy shift beneath the surface. It's not something they try to do, it's how they're wired. Their emotional radar is so finely tuned that even the slightest change in someone's expression, posture, or breath tells them a story no one else can see. That level of perception makes people feel exposed, not because the INFJ judges them, but because being truly seen is something most people secretly fear. You can lie with your words, but you can't lie with your energy, and INFJs know this. They notice the tension behind the smile, the sadness in the laugh, the pride hiding under defensiveness. To others, it feels almost supernatural, like the INFJ has access to their private thoughts, but it's not magic, it's empathy sharpened by years of observation and emotional intelligence. They've spent their lives decoding people, not to manipulate them, but to understand them. This depth of perception creates a strange dynamic. On one hand, people are drawn to them, comforted by how easily they can open up without fear of judgment. On the other, they feel uneasy because the INFJ's insight sees through their masks. Most people aren't used to someone who listens not to reply but to feel. And when someone reads you that deeply, your usual defenses stop working. You feel transparent, stripped of your rehearsed emotions and half-truths. The INFJ doesn't flaunt this ability. They stay quiet, taking mental notes, sensing the undercurrents that others miss. They rarely call it out, but when they do, it's with unsettling accuracy. That's when people realize just how much the INFJ has seen all along. Their insight doesn't come with arrogance, it comes with compassion. Yet that compassion has a cost, because the deeper they see, the lonelier they become. It's hard to connect when everyone feels like an open book. That's the paradox of the INFJ's gift. They make people feel both safe and exposed, and in a world full of masks, being around someone who can see the truth without you saying a word is both comforting and terrifying. They don't seek attention, yet naturally become the center of it. INFJs don't walk into a room craving eyes on them. In fact, they prefer the opposite, to blend in quietly, to observe, to feel the energy before engaging, but somehow, without even trying, they draw people in. It's the paradox of their presence, calm but magnetic, soft yet commanding. While others fight to be noticed, the INFJ's silence creates curiosity. Their body language, their steady gaze, their composed aura, it all pulls attention like gravity. People can't quite explain it, but something about them feels different, deeper, almost mysterious. It's not about appearance or charisma, it's the energy. An INFJ carries an invisible confidence born from self-awareness and emotional depth. They don't need to speak loudly or dominate conversations. Their energy fills the room in subtler ways. The way they listen without judgment, the way their words land with precision, it all makes people feel seen, and that's rare. In a world where everyone's trying to be heard, the INFJ stands out simply by hearing others. That stillness makes noise look desperate. Ironically, this natural magnetism is something they never wanted. Many INFJs feel uncomfortable when they realize how others are drawn to them. They don't chase admiration or popularity, they value authenticity above attention. But their authenticity, their realness, is exactly what attracts people. Others feel safe around them, yet intrigued. They want to understand what gives the INFJ that sense of inner peace, that subtle strength that doesn't rely on validation. People who seek control or dominance, however, often find the INFJ's quiet confidence threatening. They can't figure out how someone can command respect without demanding it. They sense a power they can't manipulate, a presence that doesn't need to compete, and that unsettles them. The INFJ never asks for the spotlight, it just seems to find them, because real presence doesn't need performance, it just is. They're proof that you don't have to be loud to be noticed or aggressive to be respected. The most magnetic people are the ones who don't try to be. And that's why, even in silence, the INFJ becomes unforgettable, the calm center of every storm, the quiet energy that everyone feels, but no one can quite explain. Their emotional intelligence makes manipulation impossible. Manipulators hate crossing paths with an INFJ because every trick they rely on simply doesn't work. An INFJ's emotional intelligence isn't just awareness, it's intuition sharpened by experience. They've felt every version of deceit, the fake apologies, the guilt trips, the half-truths dressed as kindness, and over time they've learned to read emotional intention, not just words. That's what makes manipulating them impossible. They can sense when something doesn't align, when your tone sounds caring but your energy feels controlling, when your compliments carry an agenda. Before you even finish your sentence, they've already seen the pattern forming behind it. The INFJ's empathy gives them an X-ray view of people's motives. They don't just observe what you feel, they understand why you feel it. This is what makes emotional manipulation ineffective, because the INFJ sees it before it becomes action. They might play along for a while, silently collecting evidence, but inside they're already detaching. They never confront impulsively, they study quietly, letting your behavior reveal who you truly are. By the time you think you're in control, they've already figured out your entire emotional strategy. This level of awareness isn't born from superiority, it's born from pain. ENFJs have been manipulated before. They've given too much, trusted too deeply, and watched empathy turn into a weapon used against them. But instead of becoming bitter, they became wise. Their heart didn't harden, it evolved. Now they can detect subtle emotional games that others would miss entirely. People who thrive on control often find the INFJ's calm response infuriating. They can't trigger them, can't guilt them, can't provoke them into reacting. The more the manipulator pushes, the more the INFJ retreats into silence. The most unsettling response of all. Because silence, for them, isn't surrender, it's strategy. In the end, the manipulator always exposes themselves trying to get a reaction that never comes, and when they finally realize the INFJ saw everything from the beginning, the game is over. Because emotional intelligence in the hands of an INFJ isn't just awareness, it's protection. And that quiet awareness makes them impossible to control, impossible to deceive, and unstoppable once they've seen the truth. They succeed quietly, making others question their own progress. INFJs are not the type to broadcast their wins or seek applause. They move in silence, focused, consistent, intentional. While others announce every small step for validation, the INFJ is building something deeper, something lasting. Their success doesn't explode overnight. It unfolds slowly, almost invisibly. One day, people look up and realize the quiet person they once overlooked has evolved, a stronger, wiser, and far ahead. That's when the jealousy begins. Because nothing confuses people more than someone who succeeds without noise. This quiet rise comes from discipline rooted in purpose. INFJs don't chase goals for status, they chase meaning. Every action has intention behind it. They study in silence, work while others rest, and grow while the world is distracted by attention seeking. And because they aren't motivated by external validation, their progress feels different, steady, grounded, unstoppable. People who depend on recognition can't comprehend how someone can thrive without an audience. The irony is, INFJs never compete with others, only with who they were yesterday. But their steady evolution creates an unspoken comparison. Those who once underestimated them begin to feel uneasy. They start questioning their own path, their own choices. Because the INFJ's quiet success reflects what others avoid facing: the power of focus, patience, and self-mastery. When the INFJ finally reaches milestones, a new career, a deep relationship, a peaceful life, they don't flaunt it. They let the results speak. Their energy shifts subtly. They walk lighter, speak fewer words, and radiate quiet confidence. People sense the change, but can't pinpoint when it happened. That mystery only adds to the envy. In truth, INFJs don't want to make anyone feel small. They just refuse to play the validation game. They understand that real power doesn't need an audience, it needs consistency. And that's the secret behind their progress. They keep building when no one's watching. They know that silence protects vision. So while others burn out chasing applause, the INFJ keeps rising, not loudly, but completely. And by the time people realize it, it's too late to catch up. Because quiet success doesn't seek attention, it earns respect. And that's what makes the INFJ's growth both inspiring and intimidating. Their independence and solitude make them seem untouchable. INFJs were never built to depend on anyone for validation. They find strength in silence, peace in solitude, and clarity in independence. While others panic at the thought of being alone, the INFJ recharges there. It's in isolation that they gather their thoughts, rebuild their energy, and reconnect with their purpose. This quiet comfort in solitude confuses people who equate constant socializing with happiness. They can't understand how someone can feel so whole without needing to be surrounded, and that misunderstanding often turns into envy. The INFJ's independence is magnetic. They move with an ease that comes from knowing they can rely on themselves. They don't need approval to act or reassurance to keep going. Their validation comes from inner peace, not outer praise. And that kind of emotional self-sufficiency makes people uneasy because most rely on connection to feel significant, while the INFJ thrives without it. Their calm detachment isn't coldness, it's mastery. They've learned to give love freely but never depend on others to survive. People sense that energy the moment they interact with an INFJ. There's something unshakable about them, like they've already made peace with being misunderstood. That quiet resilience makes them feel untouchable. No gossip, criticism, or rejection can truly break someone who's built their strength in solitude. The INFJ doesn't isolate to escape life, they isolate to master it. Every time they retreat, they return sharper, calmer, and more grounded. This kind of independence threatens people who crave control. Manipulators lose their grip because nothing they say or do can emotionally bind the INFJ. Attention seekers grow frustrated because the INFJ's focus remains inward. Even friends sometimes misread their space as distance, not realizing that solitude is their way of protecting their energy. The truth is, solitude doesn't make the INFJ lonely, it makes them powerful. It's the reason they stay centered when others fall apart. Their independence isn't rebellion, it's evolution. And because they don't fear being alone, they can't be easily controlled, manipulated, or broken. That's what makes them so intimidating. They move through the world with quiet certainty, needing nothing, fearing no one, and radiating an untouchable kind of peace that most people spend their lives chasing but never find. They forgive but never forget. Their boundaries are silent but firm. Compassion, they are known for their compassion. They understand people deeply, sometimes more than people deserve. They forgive easily, not because they're naive, but because they refuse to carry bitterness. Yet that forgiveness is often misunderstood. People think it means access, that once the generation forgives, everything returns to normal. But that's where they're wrong. The INFJ's forgiveness isn't an open door, it's a quiet closure. They may smile again, speak kindly, even offer help, but deep down, they've already created distance. They remember what happened, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. You see, INFJs don't believe in holding grudges. They believe in learning lessons. When someone crosses a line, they observe, absorb, and analyze. They'll forgive the moment, but they'll never ignore the pattern. Once trust is broken, it never returns in its original form. They might let you back into their world, but not into their heart. And that boundary, invisible yet unbreakable, is what people often underestimate. Their boundaries aren't loud. They don't announce them, they embody them. One day, the calls stop being answered. The emotional access you once had disappears. Their presence becomes polite but distant. And when you finally realize the shift, it's too late because the INFJ doesn't warn you when they're done. They simply detach. Their silence says everything their words no longer need to. This kind of emotional discipline unsettles people who are used to second chances. They can't comprehend how someone so gentle can also be so firm. But that's the paradox of the INFJ. They can forgive from the heart and still protect their peace. Their empathy doesn't make them weak. It gives them the strength to walk away without hatred. Over time, people begin to realize how powerful those silent boundaries really are. They see that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetfulness, it means freedom. Because once an INFJ releases resentment, they're untouchable. They've learned the lesson, built the wall, and moved forward with grace. And nothing is more intimidating than a kind soul who's no longer accessible, who can forgive you completely but never let you close again. Their authenticity in a fake world makes others realize what they lack. In a world obsessed with image, performance, and validation, the INFJ's authenticity feels like a shockwave. They don't wear masks, chase trends, or pretend to be something they're not. Their truth radiates quietly but powerfully. It's in their words, their choices, their stillness. People feel it immediately. The difference between someone trying to be and someone who simply is. And that difference exposes everything false around them. While others seek approval through constant noise, the INFJ moves through life with unshakable integrity, and that's what makes people uncomfortable. The INFJ doesn't conform to fit in. They'd rather walk alone in truth than be surrounded by shallow validation. They speak with honesty, even when it's inconvenient, show emotion without shame, and value depth over popularity. Their conversations cut through small talk. Their actions reveal alignment between who they are and what they believe. That authenticity is rare, and people both admire and resent it. Because being around someone real reminds others how much of themselves they've compromised. Many try to copy the INFJ's energy, the calm, the insight, the quiet power, but it can't be imitated. It comes from inner work, from facing their own shadows, from refusing to betray their values for acceptance. Their peace isn't gifted, it's earned. And when others see that kind of self-honesty, it stirs something within. Sometimes inspiration, sometimes jealousy, because authenticity demands courage, and not everyone is ready to be that exposed. People often project onto the INFJ assuming they're mysterious or hiding something, but the truth is simpler. They're just real in a world built on facades. They don't overshare or perform for approval, so their silence feels foreign to those addicted to validation. Yet the irony is that's exactly what makes them magnetic. The INFJ doesn't need to impress, their truth does it for them. Over time, their authenticity becomes a mirror. It reflects everyone else's pretense. And that reflection is what causes jealousy, because deep down, everyone craves the peace that comes with being real. The INFJ already lives it, and in a world full of imitation, their raw honesty stands as proof. Being genuine isn't weakness. It's the rarest and strongest form of power there is. In the end, INFJs never try to outshine anyone, they just refuse to be anyone but themselves. Their calm strength, quiet growth, and unshakable authenticity create a kind of power that can't be explained, only felt. And that's what makes people both admire and envy them. They don't chase attention, they attract it. They don't compete, they evolve. And while the world tries to stand out by being loud, the INFJ stands apart by being real. If you've ever felt misunderstood for your depth or judged for your calmness, remember your peace is your power. You don't need to explain it, just keep being the person who sees through the noise and chooses truth anyway. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to Brainy One, where we uncover the psychology behind quiet strength, deep minds, and hidden power. And if you've watched this far, comment calm power below so I'll know you're one of the few who truly understands what it means to be authentic in a fake world.